guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the mixed voice, that middle register. Learning how to use the mixed voice properly is fundamental in creating effective and well-supported vocals. The mixed voice is where your vocal breaking point falls. What is the vocal break? Sometimes it's easy for you to sing lower notes, but as you gradually get higher, all of a sudden you experience a problem. And when you start singing from a high note, you get a similar problem when you're going lower. It's like you have a break between the low and the high notes. This is because your body has to support the low and high notes in a different way. So what about that bit in the middle of your vocal range? The switching of the support systems is the problem. You're switching the vocals between your lower and your upper register, also known as the chest voice and the head voice. That will explain what they are, which will be really helpful when understanding the mixed voice in this video. Initially, it's a really weak sounding part of the vocal range, and it's the part that singers are really keen to work on strengthening. Why is that? When singing songs, there are bound to be notes that fall right on the mixed voice, the breaking point. This can sound very weak if you don't know where to place those notes. It can cause people to feel frustrated about their singing voice and often make them very selective when choosing certain songs. If a song is in a key where the majority of the notes fall right on your breaking point, it can really make that song feel much more challenging to sing. By working on the mixed voice, that breaking point between your chest voice and your head voice, you will have more power, you will have more versatility in your voice, you will confidently sing higher notes in a healthy way. So by working on your entire vocal range, these middle notes will smoothen out and there shouldn't be such a divide in sound. From the heavy chest voice to that softer head voice, they should all just flow through. Well, how do we do that? First of all, learn where your breaking point is, address it, and then you will know when to make the switch between your chest voice and your head voice. It's called the mixed voice because once you become familiar with the breaking point in your voice, you'll be able to shift through between the chest voice and the head voice to get the desired effect. The chest voice is naturally going to be more powerful than the head voice, but trying to push high notes with your chest voice to get more volume can be damaging to your vocals, and the notes will lack control, making them sound quite harsh. Developing strength in the head voice means that you will get the desired volume you need using that voice. This is achievable through vocal exercises that focus on the technique of transitioning the mixed voice and regular practice. As always, it does not happen overnight. Essentially, you're working on erasing the middle register so you can create one smooth voice. You will of course still have a lower, a middle and an upper register, but we're just trying to use the muscle in such a way that the notes flow effortlessly into one another. You'll have a seamless transition when you're working through your scales and your notes will sound really smooth. And also you can build power without any strain and you're in control of it. Don't let your voice run away with you. When students suddenly realize that they can get power to belt their chest voice, they can over push it too high at the breaking point and it crosses that fine line and becomes a bit shouty and the control is lost. This causes a lot of strain and tension because your voice wants to go into the higher register when singing high notes. But sometimes the singer doesn't feel confident using that voice, or they don't feel that they could get the same power using the higher register. But the more you use it, the stronger it will get. The voice is a muscle and it will get stronger. Just make sure that you warm up correctly first. So it's a lot easier if I show you rather than explaining to you, and that way you can hopefully hear where the mixed voice comes into play when I'm working from my chest voice into my head voice. So I'm going to play through some scales now and really try and listen out for when my voice changes. If you can hear the sound changing, it's because I'm changing the placement from my chest voice into my head voice. So by doing that, we're going to find out where my mixed voice is. Okay, so I'm just going to sing an octave and we're going to really listen out for where my voice changes. So did you hear the difference? My breaking point is about here on the F, okay? F to G. Let's try that again and really listen out. It almost has a quality of almost like a yawn sound when you go into your head voice. The chest voice is the stronger voice. It's the voice we use every day for speaking with, and it's obviously the lower register. But when you use that head voice, it should sound higher, like it's traveling up through the top of your head. So the difference between the two voices should be quite clear. Okay? So between the F and the G is where my breaking point is. That's just me. Yours will be completely different, and you really need to address where your breaking point is, so when you go to use that part of your voice, you're mindful of whether you're going to use the chest or the head voice. So now I'm just going to sing an example of one sentence of a song, and I'm going to do it all in my chest voice. Suddenly last summer. Okay, now I'm going to sing the same sentence, but I'm going to sing it all in my head voice. The lower notes will be a little bit difficult, but you'll still get the idea. Suddenly last summer. So you can really hear a difference between the two voices using the two. This time, I'm going to exercise using the mixed voice. So the first part will be using my chest voice, and then when my voice naturally goes higher, I'm going to use the head voice. Suddenly last summer. Okay, so the last time sounded a lot more effective. I was able to use the two voices to really create atmosphere in my vocals. When I used the chest voice, it all sounded quite harsh, especially at the top note. It's too harsh to use that chest voice. Whereas when I put it in the softer, higher voice, it was a lot smoother and clearer, but I had to transition from the chest voice into the head voice. This note here, which is the G, I could have done either, and that's the point of the mixed voice. It's knowing when to use what, and sometimes you have the choice. So you could have sang it as ah, and it doesn't sound too harsh because it's just about comfortable. Or to put it in the head voice, ah, it's a little bit smoother. So personally, I do prefer it in the head voice, but it depends what effect you're trying to achieve when singing. You might want something to sound quite strong or a little bit softer. It depends on the song, but by having that control over your mixed voice, you get to choose, and you can really start to create a story more with your vocals. You've got choices. You can definitely create more atmosphere. Okay, so I'm just going to show you another vocal warm-up now, which will really help with strengthening the mixed voice, okay? So we're just going to hum through this one, but rather than an we're going to do more of an So I want you to place your tongue just behind your teeth, directly behind, and it should feel a little bit ticklish when the vocals resonate on that. So we're going to go. So we're jumping from the C to the G, the first to the fifth note, and back down again, okay? So when we use that first note, that's definitely in my chest voice. But when I transition up to the fifth, I'm then using my head voice, okay? So learning to transfer between the two. When you go from the first note up to the second one, you are lifting the sound within your mouth. Try to take notice of how it feels. The sound resonates, which means it vibrates. The first and the third note, which are the same, should feel like they are right on the tip of your tongue, so they're really forward in your mouth. And then when you shift up to the next note, a fifth above, that should feel further back in your mouth. And you're pushing that sound upwards towards the soft palate at the back of your mouth. If you want to know more about the soft palate, check my other YouTube video, chest voice versus head voice, and I go into a little bit more detail about the soft palate. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few scales of this warm-up and really listen out for when it becomes more challenging. So when I start to sing more notes around the F and the G, that's when I'm really, really concentrating on using my mixed voice. And so on and so forth. So that's a really good warm-up for strengthening the mixed voice. Once you're more confident with the mixed voice, when you get to that part of your vocal range, you can choose whether you're going to use your chest voice or your head voice. Remember, your mixed voice is a combination of the two. It's not a separate voice. It's the part you want to strengthen. so you get a smooth transition of sound between the two. So I'm going to show you another little warm-up now. We're going to use the same notes, but this time we're going to slur it. So instead of going just straight up to the 5th note, we are going to really slur through, okay? So we're going to do it as an R this time, just for a change, and you'll be able to hear the notes more clearly in the slur. So we're going to go ah, okay? The reason we're slurring through the notes is to make sure we hit each note on the way up, which again is really, really great training for the mixed voice because you use all those notes on the way up. You go from your chest voice into your head voice in one smooth transition. So really listen out for that, okay? I'm just going to do a few of those. This time I'm going to start a little bit lower so you can really hear the transition between the chest voice and the head voice, and I'll talk you through it, okay? Still in the chest voice. Moving through. To the head voice now. Right in the head voice. Slurs are an excellent way of warming up different notes in the vocal range because it requires for you to flow through them quickly without stopping on each note. Kind of sounds a bit like a siren when you do it, but it's really, really great for warming up your voice. And when you get to the vocal breaking point, you are transferring from the chest voice into the head voice in one scale. When you're practicing that one at home, just don't use too much volume at first. You really want to gradually ease your voice into it. So don't go all guns blazing. Just take it nice and slowly at first. As you get more confident after a little while, then you can start to use a little bit more volume, but make sure you're always singing from the diaphragm. Remember, you're working on stretching these notes in a healthy way. I'm going to make another video with the accompaniment to these warm-ups and a few other vocal warm-ups that I think will be really helpful when training the mixed voice, so you can practice it at home. Be sure to keep practicing because strengthening that muscle takes time. But if you are struggling to hear where your vocal breaking point is, the best thing to do is get an expert's opinion. So if you take up some singing lessons, somebody else will be able to tell you exactly where your breaking point is, and they will be able to advise you further and show you more safe warm-ups to use so that you can really strengthen that mixed voice. And then you'll have so much more confidence when you're singing, and you won't shy away from those songs that might sit right on the breaking point. We do offer one-to-one singing lessons at Murphy School of Music, either in person or you can take them online depending on where you are located. I will leave a link below so you can look at taking up one-to-one lessons and really get some expert help in training your voice and really cracking that breaking point. As I've said, it's something that most singers will struggle with, and once you've achieved it, your voice will come on leaps and bounds because nothing will seem too much of a challenge for you. I know that was quite brief. The mixed voice is extremely complex and it is about a feeling, so you have to practice yourself and really think about how it feels when you use the two different voices, your chest voice and your head voice, because that way you can differentiate between the two. I hope it was somewhat helpful in understanding the mixed voice. Please subscribe to my channel and leave any comments if you liked the video or you had any questions at all. I'd be happy to answer them. I'm Sophie on vocals from the Murphy School of Music.